Hello and welcome to another episode of In the Trenches with Gang Green. I'm your host, Bubbs. Today is Friday, May 31st. Hopefully everybody is having a good day so far. By the time many of you are listening to this, it'll probably be Saturday, June 1st. So June is officially upon us. The NFL offseason, NFL OTAs continue to roll on, and a lot of excitement if you're a New York Jets fan, as OTAs out at One Jets Drive continued this afternoon, and season ticket holders were once again allowed in, and we got a lot of great updates from some great New York Jets season ticket holders that were out at practice this afternoon. We'll break down all these updates, break down all the performances, everything that went down at day number 6 of New York Jets OTAs practice. So we'll break it all down. This is episode 312 of the In the Trenches with Gang Green podcast. I thank you as always for joining me. If you haven't already, make sure to please like and subscribe. For those of you watching here on YouTube, setting that goal of 1,000 subscribers by week 1 Jets Niners. We're at 325 right now, so we got some work to do, but it is only June. We've still got a couple of months. We still got all training camp. We still got all the summer. So we got time, but make sure to hit that subscribe button. I appreciate all the support, as always, as we look to reach that goal by the 2024 campaign, Monday Night Football, Jets Niners, week number 1. So now let's get into OTAs for the New York Jets this afternoon, as it was another practice where the media was not allowed in, but season ticket holders were. And the New York Jets fan base is amazing. It's awesome. And there was a lot of great season ticket holders out there this afternoon that were keeping all of us updated that weren't out there. And we'll break down all those updates, break down everything that happened, everything that went down, and get you on your way here on this episode 312 of the In the Trenches with Gang Green podcast. So Brandon Pockris was one of the guys out there this afternoon at practice. And I'll tell you what, between the beat, obviously the media being there 2 practices, and in season ticket holders being there 2 practices, 4 of these 6 practices so far through the 2 weeks of OTAs have been covered. So major shout out to everybody that has been out at practice, both the season ticket holders and, of course, the beat reporters and the entire media team that was out there over 2 days so far, this OTAs. Because over half the practices, us as Jets fans have gotten some really great coverage. And some great coverage today came from Brandon Pockris, who sent out this entire tweet, basically recapping everything that went down today at practice. So we'll break down some of that. He also had some other tweets updating what was going on. We'll break it all down, give you some of my thoughts and all that here in this episode. So without further ado, let's get in. We'll start with Aaron Rodgers, what he did this afternoon. Continuing to spread the ball around, continuing to look pretty good in day number 6 of OTAs. Him and Garrett Wilson. You hear all the beat reporters talk about it. You hear all the season ticket holders talk about it. I think we all know it. The fans that were out there at training camp last year, seeing it in person, seeing it in that preseason game against the New York Giants, the Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers connection is really feels like it's all the way back. And it feels like these guys, these 2 players, have not missed a beat. It feels like they played an entire 17-game season with each other last season, but really it was some off-season stuff, the OTA programs, and then training camp, 1 preseason game, and then 4 regular season snaps where there wasn't a completion between the 2. And now you look at what these guys are doing only in May, and you're already seeing the dominance. You're seeing it out there at almost every single practice. The biggest storyline is Aaron Rodgers to Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson finding ways to get open, whether it's against DJ Reed, whether it's against Sauce Gardner, one of the Jets' 2 elite corners. He's finding ways. Aaron Rodgers getting him the ball, and it's been a dangerous duo. And as I always say, it's days like today, it's these reports, it's the highlights you see. While it's only OTAs, they're in shorts, I get all that, but it's still days like today that give you kind of flashbacks of last summer and how good the vibes were and how the connection was working. And even that preseason game against the Giants where he caught the touchdown pass, and it just gives you that feeling of, a healthy Aaron Rodgers, how Garrett Wilson has already been a star in the first 2 seasons. But now you're looking at 13, 14, 1,500 yards maybe, and an elite receiver going from a very good receiver to an elite talent officially this season. So can't wait to see that. And it's kind of that feeling too of if you could push a button and get the week 1, you would if you were a Jet fan, because just so then you could see these two guys out there in actual game action. There was some interesting stuff with Lazard today. Had a couple mistakes early on, couple drops, couple poor plays early on. Rodgers talked to him. It seemed like they made an adjustment. Lazard got better as practice went on. So, Lazard is under a microscope. He will be every practice, and rightfully so. I said it on my podcast on Wednesday that Lazard deserves every bit of this pressure, deserves every bit of this, I guess, kind of these eyes all over him. He deserves it all because he was awful last season, arguably the worst receiver in football. Anything this guy does poorly, anything that this guy does that makes this offense look out of sync or is the same mistakes we saw him make last year, fans are going to get on him because rightfully so. And he deserves to kind of get that pressure. He deserves to get that tough love. He's going to have to do a lot to win this fan base over. And I think so far through OTAs, he's been solid. But there has been some concerns, of course. Today, you hear that it seemed like there was some frustration from Rodgers. There was kind of a disconnect between the two when it comes to maybe some of the routes. He had a couple drops, like stuff like that can't happen. Rodgers talked to him, cleared things up. Seems like they got back on the same page, whether it was routes, drop balls, whatever it was, and they got better. So give credit there to Rodgers to making that adjustment and obviously working with him. But, it's still, as a Jet fan, you still get concerned about Allen Lazard because you just never know when that might come up in a big spot, and an error that can happen in May, not going to be able to happen in November and December and January. So, that's why I think a lot of fans still would like to see another pass catcher in this room, but we will see. So Lazard is going to have to do a lot. Not going to get much praise. And that's something. Now, I'll try. I've said it forever. I give you my opinion. No matter how good or bad the player has played, if he plays good, I'll give him his credit. If he plays bad, I'll say he plays bad. You know what you're going to get on the show. And I've given some credit to Lazard. There's been a couple days where, according to reports, he made some plays. And there's also been some couple days like today where it looks like he's kind of running around with not knowing what to do. And that's concerning. So we'll see. But some other Rodgers completions, getting the ball out to Conklin. Of course, we mentioned Wilson did have some of those completions. Lazard was getting it out to Braylon Allen. Tariq Cohen was getting involved today. And that's some other things too, minus the Rodgers stuff here as we transition in here to other practice notes from this afternoon at One Jets Drive in Florham Park. I want to dive right into the running back situation because it continues to be a focal point during OTAs, the way the New York Jets have utilized running backs. And if you bring up Brandon Pockrass's tweet here, this afternoon, basically breaking down everything from practice. If you read those middle lines, he talked about how Braylon Allen looks natural as a receiver, combined with explosiveness with the ball in his hands, likely running back 2 job to lose. Then he goes on to talk about Isaiah Davis, looks explosive and quick, should be a fun depth piece at the position at the very least. Then he went into Tariq Cohen, looks shifty and explosive right away. Most significantly, he's already running with the first team, which is key. Now you go to Izzy, and this has been talked about a little bit already during OTAs, and again brought up today. Izzy is falling down the depth chart, 0 reps with the first or second teams, struggling on the field, could be a trade/cut candidate. And we've kind of talked about this with Izzy a lot. It was one thing I think we all expected the New York Jets to draft a running back day 3, and they did that. And that wasn't a surprise. And then they went out and drafted Isaiah Davis, and that was like, okay, you already have Izzy. Was Isaiah Davis really necessary? Was that really something you needed to do when you could have went with another interior, when you could have went maybe interior offensive line, or maybe could have went after another receiver, or whatever the case may be? So that happens. Like, okay, you added 2 rookie running backs on day 3. You already had Izzy, who barely played. Now you're already bringing in 2 new names. Kind of surprising. Kind of like, okay, they're lighting a fire under Izzy. And then You get the Tariq Cohen signing on Wednesday, and it's like, man, so you added Braylon Allen, Tariq Cohen, and Isaiah Davis. They're all getting reps with the first and second team. Tariq Cohen, who's been with the team for 72 hours, I get it, he's a veteran, but still a guy that hasn't played in 3 years. And I understand it's OTAs. There's not much of a ramp up in order to participate in OTAs. He's obviously healthy and he's a veteran and he can catch on quickly. But Izzy's not even a factor. Not even a factor. And as it says here, it seems like he's struggling. He's not really taking advantage of those reps that he's getting, and it's minimal reps. I think you're looking at this running back room right now, and it seems like Izzy's just getting kind of pushed out of it. Braylon Allen's going to be the runaway running back too, as it should be. He's been great. Everything you hear, he looks dominant. I mean, you just look at him, and you could tell he's going to cause problems. But a Breece Braylon Allen 1-2 punch, then Isaiah Davis as your third back. Solid guy. We talk about it. Coming from a smaller school, different system, needs to catch on a little with the scheme. Might take a little bit of a learning curve for him. But I've always said it with Isaiah Davis, you cannot take away his numbers in college. His numbers in college were eye-popping. 18 touchdowns, over 1,500 rushing yards, just unbelievable numbers. I understand FCS is not as quite as FBS playing at a Power 5 school like Wisconsin in the Big Ten. He played at South Dakota State, smaller school, but still the numbers were off the charts. He's gonna be able to contribute in a couple different ways. Special teams as well. And you add Tariq Cohen in the mix, and he's already getting first, second team reps. He's a veteran. To me, it seems like Izzy's gonna be out of here. To me, it feels a little bit like it kind of feels a little bit like a Michael, not quite like a Michael Carter because it's a little different. But last year, you always kind of got that vibe that Michael Carter was kind of probably on his way out at some point with them bringing in Dalvin Cook. They already went out and got Breece Hall the year before in the draft. It kind of always felt like, Michael Carter, the Jets clearly never viewed him as the answer. I guess you could kind of compare maybe to like a Bam Knight where he had that stretch at the end of the year and then came into camp and they got rid of him. And it was just, he was clearly not much of a factor. It feels like Izzy's heading into that territory. And it's only OTAs too, which I think is more concerning for Izzy because OTAs, you see a bunch of guys rotating in with all the first, second team. If he's not even getting any of these reps, clear the coaching staff isn't. Where there's smoke, there's fire. You could tell on draft night or day 3 of the draft when they drafted 2 running backs, there's obviously something up. They obviously felt Izzy needed some competition. He couldn't just be handed the running back 3 spot. And you bring in Tariq Cohen, and now it's like, okay, he's going to have to do a lot. I think he's going to have to make up a lot of ground. Some other things. Good day for Tyrod. Not that, many Jets fans are probably very, I guess, need to really know about Tyrod, but it was a good day for him, it seems, by all accounts, getting the ball out, doing what he needs to do. Jarek Bernard-Converse had a good day. Really interesting competitions in that secondary. The way they're going to kind of work with things out there. Feels like, Zay Oliver moving to safety. It feels like the other day, Jarek Bernard-Converse was working a little bit more at corner. And then on top of Jarek Bernard-Converse looking good today, Quantez Stiggers had a great day. From what you see online, from what you see on Twitter, feels like it was probably his best day at camp. And he's had a good camp, but a great day today. So you've got a whole lot of competition in that secondary. While you look at the cornerback room and you look at the 3 corners and Sauce, DJ Reed, and Michael Carter, that's all secure. But you look at the rest of that list. You have Brandon Echols there. You have Quantez Stiggers. Jarek Bernard-Converse is rotating in at corner as well. You look at the safety room, Chuck Clark, Tony Adams-Davis fighting for those 2 starting spots. But then depth, you've got Jalen Key. You've also got Jarek Bernard-Converse as well that can rotate in and out, safety corner hybrid. Isaiah Oliver, who transitioned to safety. So there is so much competition in that secondary. And Quantez Stiggers continues to be a guy you root for. One of the biggest things today, as you could see here in the tweet, about Stiggers. Stiggers keeps shining in coverage, might be the most loved player on the defense. Every time he makes a play, the entire unit celebrates and goes crazy. Excited to see him continue to develop. And he's so right about that. His story's great, so unbelievable, the journey that he's been on. We've talked about it, of course, a lot. And he's such an easy guy to root for, and you could tell the locker room was really, really, really rallying around him. And for a guy like him, he couldn't have come into a better room, a room of 3 great corners to learn from. And clearly he's adjusting. Again, it's OTAs. I get it, but he's had a pretty good spring so far. And hopefully he can carry that into the summer, because if he can do that, maybe he finds a way onto this team, at least the practice squad. Maybe plays a depth role. We'll see. Jason Brownlee, Tyler Harrell, Lance McCutcheon, all had good days. Lance McCutcheon back-to-back practices made a couple plays. There was a long, I believe it was like 50-yard reception that he made on, Wednesday. Today he had another reception from Tyrod. Tyler Harrell as well today was getting involved with Tyrod. Jason Brownlee had made a couple plays with Tyrod. So some of those depth receivers, Brownlee I could still see making the 53. I don't know so much about Harrell. I don't know so much about Lance McCutcheon. Harrell maybe because of his speed as a return guy, but still some under the radar guys doing some good things. DJ Reed, the pass breakup. Michael Carter, MC2 had a pass breakup against Gibson. So while you see a lot of good things at the receivers, you also see the corners stepping up and making some plays as well. And that's mainly it. Day 6, week 2, Jets OTAs in the books. Appreciate all the season ticket holders. Shout out to all of them. Great fan base the Jets have. And, of course, the beat reporters as well. We've gotten 4 of 6 practices have been covered so far through OTAs. I don't think many other fan bases can say that. So, great to see that as a Jet fan. We'll have a lot more content coming your way. OTAs updates, of course, mini camp here in a couple weeks. I believe that's June 11th through the 13th, 3-day mandatory mini camp. So that'll be a lot of fun. You see all the rest of the guys out there that aren't there already. Hopefully, expecting everybody there. And lots to be excited about. So that'll do it for the episode of In the Trench with Gang Green, episode 312 in the books. Appreciate all you listening on all the different podcast platforms. And, of course, all of you watching here on YouTube. Until next time, JETS, 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 Jets. Thanks for tuning in, and have a good one.